Peggy 12.
I'm Chris Kao, the game director for DC Universe Online.
And I'm Jens Anderson, the creative director. And we want to thank everybody for putting forth your questions on Facebook. It's really awesome to see all the fan interaction out there. And we actually want to take some time once in a while to answer these questions. So definitely keep them coming. If your question didn't get answered this time, fire up some others. We'll try and get to them.
Yeah, and let's just start it up. There's a great question right off the bat here, Jens. Let me ask you, will you be including the landmarks that honor past creators in the books or more famous names in Gotham, like Robinson Park? Are they going to see that kind of DC come through in the game?
Yeah, totally. We have the rights to the DC comic, and so we actually do have areas like Robinson Park, Burnley, stuff like that. So you'll see those things in the game for sure, where there's really cool opportunities for us to get those, kind of fanboy moments, really be authentically part of that comic book universe. That's what we're trying to recreate here, so we take every opportunity to do it. Is it possible to maybe integrate into the game the option to choose or use weapons at a certain time? Like if I go into offensive stance, I use my sword, and in another mode, I use my fists.
Well, I mean, Batman isn't a one-trick pony, right? I mean, he's got his fist, he's got kicking, he's got acrobatics, and he has a few gadgets, right? Just a few things from the Home Shopping Network there. So just like him, or just
Can
like
I get a utility belt on the Home Shopping?
I don't know, maybe you might be able
That'd be awesome.
Hey, yes, 1995. No. But just like those heroes, you're going to be able to gain more and more types of weapons as you enter the game. At first, you're going to be limited to one, just to choose off where you're going to start and how it's going to go. But then as you progress through the game, you're going to be able to choose more and more of them. We're right now calling them, in a really advanced term, buckets, right? Those are groups of weapons that are similar to each other so that you'll be able to share between them. So maybe you start off and you're like Nightwing, and you have the Eskrima sticks. You have two batons that you're beating people down with. Well, in that same bucket, there are one-handed maces or axes or knives or that sort of thing. Also, there's unarmed attacks. So just by picking that one, you aren't limited. You'll be able to pick up those other weapons and use them in the game. More importantly, as your character continues to grow, you can choose to specialize them to get additional buckets, maybe some ranged powers, or maybe some more specialized origin-based power or weapon types. So all of this works into how you choose your character. It's about your choice and how you want to build it together.
And because we're not a typical MMO, that weapon switch isn't about die rolls or numbers. It literally affects the pace of play. You're going to notice different tactics and things that you can do with your character because you made that choice to use one weapon over another. So it's a really cool question, and the fact that you were tying it into offense or defense, it is going to be very tactical in that way.
Right, and each will result in different powers and abilities you can load out. So it's sort of like the tools for the situation, right? Just like in the comics, just like Batman, you have to have that right weapon for the right situation.
It's going to be awesome.
Are we sticking with a combat style that is more of a fighting game, or are we going more towards like an MMO style of fighting? Where do we sort of land on that spectrum?
We're sticking to it.
I think we're sticking to it.
Yeah.
Because, wait, do superheroes take turns?
Do they take turns? No.
To fight, hey, I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Hold on. No, not so much. We are much more like a combat fighting game, right? I mean, we are much more of a brawler, right? A knock 'em up, punch 'em out, throw physics objects around type of game. We are not. You're not standing there animating against somebody else animating, right? This is full-on action, full-on superhero experience. It just happens to have the levels and loot you expect from an MMO.
Totally. Let's say another player throws a car at you, but your strength is higher than the person who threw the bus. Will you be able to catch it and throw it back at them, making it harder for them to catch it?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think the best answer is yes. I mean, we have a full physics simulation. We often talk about, I can pick up a car in California and huck it at you, and you can catch it in New York, right? One of the big pieces of technology that we invested in was this physics. But it wasn't for technology's sake, it was for the superhero fantasy, right? Having that power, being able to do that kinds of thing. Feats of strength you've often talked about, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, and it's not just you that's going to be able to do that either. The NPCs will do that as well. We were talking back at New York Comic Con when we had our demo there, how we were seeing the NPCs snatching physics objects out of the air that you had thrown up at them and turning around and hitting their buddy or their enemy with it, and it was really cool. Because the first time I saw it, I was just like, "What just happened?"
And sometimes you're going to do it and to beat them up, and they're like, "No, you just gave me a weapon," right? So it totally turns the table incredible.
Yeah, I've actually conjured up that ice power where you can, hold that ice block in your
Right.
hand, and then the dude hits me in the face, and I drop it, and he picks it up and smashes it at me, and I was like, oh.
And
what's
that's
happened
just
there?
versus AI.
Yeah.
In PvP, it's even a little bit more humiliating to get beaten with your own toy,
Totally.
right?
So there's a lot of dynamic stuff that happens when it comes to the physics objects in the game, and they're important to be able to pick up and touch and do whatever you want with. So yeah, you'll be able to do that kind of stuff for sure.
And it just adds to the surprise. I mean, back to the other question about combat. This is action game combat, right? This is the best superhero game you've ever played, and the only one you can play with your friends online, no matter where they are in the world. That's important. That's huge, right? This is not just we're doing it to try to mimic something else. We are actually giving you the full-on DC experience, like you've stepped into that universe for real in every way possible.
And the most important thing is that when fans get their hands on it, they love it, and so that's an indicator to us that, back to the original question, yeah, we're sticking with that.
Totally. Oh, there's a question about how we are going to portray the ratio of sort of regular folks in the world to the amount of heroes. Because normally in a comic book, Batman is the single lone figure fighting against the knight. How are we portraying that, or how is that different in our game?
Well, so DC is really unique in the fact that most of its heroes are like godlike heroes. These are dudes who go up into space and, they stand against the alien invasion by themselves, holding their breath, and they win. They do have, like, even Batman's like that, right? I mean, he might be compensating to reach that Superman level of power with his technology, but he's still a member of the Justice League. He's that powerful.
And I think it's important to emphasize that with the respect of the DC Universe, it has always had the few heroes surviving or protecting most of the humanity, right? In our game, it's a little different. While we haven't revealed the details, the exact story that Geoff Johns has given us about why this has happened is really cool.
Yeah.
But while we haven't revealed that story yet, that story explains and sets up why the universe is filled with so many heroes and villains. Where did they emerge from? All of a sudden, out of the shadows, we have legions of these guys, right? So with the respect to the license, we worked with the wizards at DC to figure out the story that goes along with it. So it is a different setting than you might typically see, but that's because it's your story. It's your and your friend's story. You're all in this world together now. So of course, the universe has to reflect that.
Will the game be focused on raids, small groups, soloing, or a little of both?
Oh man, everything, baby, right? Everything. We like you to be able to jump in, have fun by yourself, no matter what time it is. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, 3 a.m., you want to go get your hero on, you can do that. At the same time, this is an MMO, right? This is about playing with your friends or against your friends online. So we have grouping where you can get it together with 3 or 4 of your friends, go beat down, or raiding where you get together with groups of your friends. And maybe you don't just do it in the normal raiding. There's PvP, right? Heroes and villains, they fight each other. That's what they do every day for a living. You're gonna be able to do that with your friends too. At its heart, DC can be played the whole way through without anybody else.
It's just like a comic book, right? I mean, you have your Robin book, and then you have Robin's part of Teen Titans. You have Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, they all have their own books, but they're also part of the Justice League. So, we are the DC universe online,
right?
And that kind of grouping in solo play is an important part to representing.
And it just gets more fun with more people, right? That's the whole point of these kinds of games.
More things to throw.
More people to throw them at.
More people to throw.
That's
exactly. Put them in things. That's also fun.
All right, well, we have another kind of interesting question here. Can a hero fight a hero?
That's interesting. You were saying that heroes and villains fight each other.
Right.
So, yeah, heroes can fight heroes. Happens in the books all the time, Superman does not like the way Batman wants to handle this situation. They fight, Hopefully, Batman has a kryptonite ring.
Just occasionally.
A puddle, yeah, that's going to happen. I mean, part of being a villain in DC Universe Online is going to be betraying other iconic villains in the world. You're not just always working with these guys. You're working with these guys so that you can get ahead. Maybe you're just going to be holding that knife behind your back and be like, that thing you wanted me to do, I double-crossed you. So you might fight another villain. And same thing here, heroes, Green Lantern might come and not like the way you're handling something because we've set you along the path in the story. He might try and stop you. You might have to beat him. Or maybe he's mind controlled. I don't know. Who knows?
And even beyond that story element, we have very familiar things, right? We have dueling. If you just want to say, hey, who's stronger, you can just throw down with someone on your same side and go to it.
Like in Watchtower, right?
And in the Watchtower, we have the kitchen, right? This is where you have this big combat simulator. Well, of course, heroes have to be able to test their own skills against each other, so they'll be able to jump in there and do PvP on the same side as well. Really, there has to be a reason to fight everybody because it's so fun to fight.
Exactly. You can fight anywhere, anytime. Just throw down.
We fight while we make the game. It's even really cool.
Yeah, that's what I wish I had ice powers. So I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, well, those were great questions. We look forward to seeing some more. It's a great site. We watch it all the time, read it all the time, talk about what you're talking about, and we can't wait for you to play DCUO online.
Right on. See you next time.
Yeah.